skip it. See it or skip it. See it or skip it.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, is Snow White the fairest of them all? We're going to find out in this new Cedar Skip It, where we're covering that, and we're talking about magazine dreams with Jonathan Majors. I am, of course, joined by Rebecca Frost. How is it going?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
I mean, it's a fun day when we can talk about a Disney property.
Love a Disney movie.
Hopefully we've got some positive with the negatives, but obviously Snow White is the big picture that's out this week. Not a lot of other things are going to be matching it as far as big budget films.
Yeah, kind of a slow week overall for movies.
This is starring Rachel Zegler, Gal Gadot. It's kind of a retelling of the original classic. It's the pretty much the first full feature-length animated story from Walt Disney, right?
Yeah, it's one of the tentpole animation movies from Disney, so kind of a big task for Disney to take on, to add this to their list of adapted remakes. Well, I wish I had a lot of nice things to say about it, but I will say, Rachel Zegler, I would follow her into battle. I would follow her to the ends of the earth. I think she is a Disney princess. I think she does carry this movie, and she does a fantastic job in this and everything that she's ever been in.
Oh, and she's a fantastic singer, too. Absolutely, the biggest problem with this has nothing to do with her. I think Gal Gadot, even to some extent, when she transforms into the old witch, there's a little bit of fun that she's having with it, and you can tell that she's got a different voice. She's heightening up, oh, hello, my pretty. and that's cool. But there's so many other things that aren't necessarily like horrible, but baffling and confusing.
Yeah, the movie, it takes a step into, I think, the right direction of establishing a world for Snow White to exist in, right? Like, she is a princess of a kingdom. You know, we are introduced to her family and the kingdom at large, and her relationship with her family and the kingdom. And they had an opportunity to expand on that and make it a world that we are interested in learning more about. And I think they really fumbled the ball on that.
Right. Well, and a Disney property, you can look at a lot of classic Disney films and think about a live-action remake and know that you're going to have to retool a lot of stuff that are happening, whether it be the times back then, just now it's not really an acceptable thing to do, whether it be the Jim Crow's things that were happening in, what was it, Dumbo?
Yeah.
That had the Jim Crows. Every story kind of has one of those things. And with Snow White, it feels like the studios had a big challenge with figuring out how Snow White doesn't seem like a damsel that has to be saved. Rachel Zegler talked a lot about that with her character and how she wanted to expand it. But I think the bigger problem is, or the thing that they should fix, is why is this queen, Gal Gadot, fixated on being more attractive than a 12-year-old girl?
That is the problem with, you have this villain who's been the villain since 1920 whatever, and her driving force is being the fairest in the land. She manages to take over the kingdom, and she turns all the farmers into soldiers to protect her kingdom. Protect the kingdom from what? We're not introduced to any external forces that could potentially be a threat. We don't know exactly what the economy of the kingdom is like, right? We don't have a full grasp of what her end game is, except power and beauty.
Well, and it's obsessive, too. Every day she's going to this mirror saying, am I still hot? Am I still relevant? Do I still have Riz? And he's like, you've got the Riz, but there's someone else in my house.
Someone up and coming. And is that a good driving force in 2025?
No. To me, it's not. The other controversy was about the Seven Dwarves. Peter Dinklage went on record, I think it was on Twitter or something, where he was talking about how it's dated and it's overplayed, and he disagreed with the idea of using little people to be dwarves in this. I think that carried over because, I don't know, I've got a conspiracy about this. And before we go any further, I just have to say this is going to be a spoiler review. We're going to be talking about
if you haven't seen
a lot
Snow
of
White.
things in this, because I feel like you have to explain why there's some problematic things. The quick positives, though, is I do think kids will enjoy it either way. You can take your family, and it might still be a good time. Maybe the adults are going to have some challenges and looking at the plot details and wondering just what is going on. But the kids themselves, they're actually probably going to enjoy themselves.
There is a lot for kids here. Towards the end, I think it does kind of slow down and kids might start to lose interest. But there's a lot of time spent focusing on the dwarves, which bright, colorful, musical, entertaining, and I think kids will really like that.
But the question I have is which set of dwarves came first? In my opinion, I think this film is two separate films. The first one, and then the one after they got the test screenings and found out what they needed to change. The first film, I think, did not have any CG dwarves. I think the band of people that are around the new Prince Charming character were the original 7 dwarves. And they did test screenings, realized that was a big mistake, and then made Polar Express characters in the shape of dwarves to try to make that work.
Interesting. There's a lot of time spent in this movie close up on the CGI faces of these dwarves. And personally, I find it horrific.
Yes. Nightmare fuel, uncanny
time.
valley.
I cannot understate how much time they spend close up on the faces of these dwarves. Total uncanny valley. Did not care for it at all. There's also a total missed opportunity because we get the Hi-Ho song, which is classic, and we follow them into the mines, which did feel like an advertisement for a ride at Disneyland as they're traveling through the mines. But we're introduced to the concept of they're miners. They are mining these gems. They have magic powers, which we only get a glimpse of for 2 seconds. Would love to learn more. Why are they so pressed about being late for work? Who are they working for?
That's a great question. Who are they working for?
Where do the gems go? Because back at the kingdom, Gal Gadot has a ton of gems. Is there a mine to kingdom pipeline that maybe could have been explored a bit more?
That castle is fascinating as far as what is in those rooms. The first interaction with Snow White, and what is this Prince Charming guy's name? Is it actually Prince Charming?
Jonathan.
Jonathan. So Jonathan is in a buffet room for some reason. It's just a room full of baskets of food. It's not a kitchen, it's not a dining room, it's just a room.
It might be the storeroom because Rachel Zegler does spend probably 90% of her time in this movie either doing chores or napping.
Good point.
She's just like me for real. But she is eternally mopping and sweeping, and she just happens to find herself in this storeroom where Jonathan is, who, by the way, played Joseph Smith in Under the Banner of Heaven.
Okay.
So if he looks familiar, that's why.
Fascinating. Okay. He didn't look familiar to me. In fact, it was, for some reason, I could not picture him again after I watched the movie.
He looked like a Carrie Elwes type.
Okay. I don't even picture that face either. I know the name, but I don't know.
Carrie Elwes, Princess Bride. Wesley.
Oh, don't be mean to Wesley.
I'm not. I'm just saying he looks exactly like Carrie Elwes.
Okay, now I'm being mean to John. But let's break down where the story kind of crashed. Was it in the first act? Was it in the third?
Sort of throughout. It felt like they were taking the original Snow White story, which they were, and trying to force in some complications to fill out movie time, right? But Snow White gets through these obstacles pretty easily. Like, there's not really any conflict for her to face. Like, she is kept prisoner and made to do chores for I assume 10-ish years in the castle, not allowed to leave. She leaves and is immediately welcomed to a home of 7 dwarves. Off to go find her father that she thinks is still alive, and comes across a band of bandits led by Jonathan.
Dwarves, maybe.
Dwarves, maybe. Caught in the crosshairs of hunters looking for her, immediately escapes it. Barely any consequences, right?
Well, to add to that, the ending, it seems like a big battle is about to go down. There's a huge army, everybody's ready to fight, and it just ends.
You better get out of here.
All right, I'll leave, you know.
End of story.
Yeah, I wish they would have more stakes in these stories, and I wish that they would do more as far as showing that they care about the property. Like, I'm thinking about Wicked and how, like, they grew the flowers. Ariana and Cynthia were like the bestest of friends on the tour. There was camaraderie, there was like a family in it, and you could tell everybody was having such a great time. This does not feel that way. It doesn't feel like anyone's having a good time.
It definitely feels like coworkers getting together to do work, and that's it.
Yep, and for a Disney classic, you've got to elevate it You got to match at least what they were bringing, if not more. And you can't just rely on Rachel Zegler's beautiful voice, as great as it is.
That's the thing. Everything about this movie aside, Rachel Zegler totally carries the movie. She is a Disney princess, and she does the best performance possible given what she has to work with.
Well, what do you think? We're going to give this a skip it.
I would say skip it. Wait to watch it at home if you have kids.
Wait for it. Wait for it for theater for going on to streaming. It definitely is worth watching if it's on Disney Plus or something like that. I disagree with most of the reviews right now that are saying that this is the worst Disney remake that's happened. That title belongs to Pinocchio and Pinocchio alone. They put it straight to Disney Plus, and we all know exactly why, because Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio came out at the same time,
and is
showed what
better.
a good creative film could be versus a manufactured off of the conveyor belt type thing. But oh well, I hope we get more. We'll see what happens with Lilo and Stitch later on this year. Pretty nervous about that. But let's move on to the next controversial thing that we're going to talk about.
Awesome.
Magazine Dreams.
So Magazine Dreams was supposed to come out December 2023, is that right?
It premiered actually at Sundance 2023. I was there for the press carpet. Got to see Jonathan Majors kind of get past everybody. I watched the film there. You haven't had a chance to see it, so I'm just going to talk to you about the things. But
yeah, all I know, he's a boxer?
Bodybuilder. So this is a man that really has nothing other than, I'm going to be a bodybuilder, and I'm not emotionally intelligent enough to have anything else. And he's fighting for it. He has a lot of mental dysfunctions. He's quick to violence. He's quick to assuming things, and he doesn't really seem to have the right idea of how to get there. But he's injecting himself with as much steroids as he can, and he wants to be great. So it's a dark story. It's really rough, but at the same time, I don't know where to even start with this.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know who Jonathan Majors is, Jonathan Majors is an actor that last year was, I think he pled guilty.
I don't know if he pled guilty, but he was convicted.
Convicted of assaulting his girlfriend. It was a big thing. This is Kang. He was the big Thanos in the MCU.
He was being set up to be the next big bad in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And not only that, but like, controversies aside, he's an incredible actor. There was so much potential and talent oozing out of him, but then this happens. This movie gets completely shelved because of it. Disney doesn't want to work with him anymore. And I honestly did not think I would ever be talking about the movie.
Right.
I didn't think it would come out, but a different studio had picked it up. And if we're going to be talking about just the movie based on its own merits, it's a fantastic film. It's poignant, it's emotional, it's really well written. I think the director, he was also the writer on this. He really had a vision, and you can tell that creative vision through the whole thing. It's just a shame that it's tainted, and all of the other performances are really great too. There's a love interest that he has that's a grocery bagger basically, and she's always meeting with him because he's eating like the Flash. He could put the Flash to shame with how much he's eating, and so she's always seeing that. And he finally asked her out to dinner, but you could tell that the mental anguish is getting to him and all that happened. But her performance, I think she was from what was the Peter Dinklage musical? Cyrano? Cyrano? Yep. It was the actress from that.
Okay.
So great performance, but we didn't get to see it. And I just feel bad for a lot of the talent and the people behind the crew that really championed this film, for one person to kind of destroy that and taint it. And a lot of people don't think about that. Like, movies are a community thing. So many people are wrapped in it. And if you're the star and you get yourself into trouble, you're costing salaries, you're costing livelihoods. Residuals, not on Netflix.
Not on Netflix. They pay all that up front. But yeah, it is disappointing because Jonathan Majors is such a phenomenal actor that it's really hard to look past what happens in his personal life when it is so public.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know where to leave off on this because I don't want to necessarily, if you are interested in Magazine Dreams, it's out in theaters, you can see it. It's definitely a powerful watch and one that I think you will still leave saying that there were great performances throughout. But also, I mean, I think you have to go with your gut.
That's the other thing,
base
too.
it off your own conscience, what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's our job, you know. We
Yeah.
have to watch these things no matter what in a lot of cases. But
Well, that's the thing too. There's zero marketing for it, but that is the difficult thing. Is we love movies, we love the art form of movies, and it is difficult to promote something like Magazine Dreams when, hey, the overall story, the overall art performance is incredible, but keep in mind the baggage behind the scenes.
yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. So it's a see it, it's a skip it, it's a wait for it. Dealer's choice in that case. But with that being said, next week, Death of a Unicorn is coming out.
Love an A24 movie.
And this looks like an A24 film that they're excited about as well. So I'm stoked to see this. Make sure that you check us out on See It or Skip It. Go to abc4.com, click the shows tab and See It or Skip It. You'll check out reviews, interviews. In a couple weeks, we're going to be having the Minecraft junket that I went and did literally just this week with Jack Black and Jason Momoa. That's going to be incredible. Rebecca, tell people where they can find you.
I'm on social media at @YouGrossRebecca and every week on the Geekshow podcast.
The exact opposite of gross, but the handle is, you know, who else would want a handle like it? It's amazing. Thank you again
Not
so much
changing it.
for everybody watching. We'll see you at the next review.
See it or skip it. 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 See it or skip it.